In this video, we're going to take a brief look into what automation is and why we need it, and then we'll be taking a very detailed look into automation in Cakewalk by BandLab. So by the end of the previous video, this is how much we developed the project that we started from episode 6 of the series. But later I arranged and developed it into this lo-fi beat because I needed some more material to work with automation. And it will also facilitate to show you a very typical example of why we need automation. So in this particular project, we have 3 tracks in the beginning along with the drum tracks and this rain ambience. And then from here onwards, we have 2 additional guitar tracks along with the tracks which were already here, and some percussion sounds also get added in here. And from here onwards, the guitar tracks fades away and this vocal track comes in. So as you can see, the number of instruments or the tracks at any given time is actually varying. The example I am putting forward is that this rain ambience is not always balanced with the other tracks. That is, in this region it gets kind of quieter. But in this region, it's kind of louder compared to the other sounds. So this is an occasion where we can use volume automation to balance those sounds. But what exactly is automation? Automation means to record the movement of a control so that the next time we play our project, that control moves automatically. This allows us to dynamically change parameters over the course of a project's timeline. Now let's see how we can implement it in Cakewalk. To add automation, we can click on this icon here, which has this zigzag kind of logo, and that is going to reveal the first automation lane, which is volume. This is the same volume as the track volume, which we can also see in the inspector view of the track. This fader right here. Let me zoom in a bit. Now, when I hover over this line, it's showing volume minus 24 dB. Which is the same value as the fader here. What I'm going to do now is click on this line to add a node. And then click again on this line to add another one, and then again to add a third node. But this time I'm also going to move this middle node by clicking and dragging it. Now see how this automation lane affects the volume fader. You can see that the fader is actually following the value of the automation lane. Now if I hit play, the volume fader moved automatically. Now let's add one more automation lane. We can do that by clicking on this plus. Now this here says it's pan, which is this knob here. Now if we want to change that to anything else, we have to click on this drop down, and here we can see all the parameters that can be automated. So here we can see volume already here, then there is pan, then automated mute, that is we can also automate this mute button. Then we have reverb center level, which is this thing, then reverb cent pan, which is this one, and from there onwards what we have are effects parameters. This PC in each of these stand for Pro Channel, which we can see by clicking here. So these are the Pro Channel effects. The first one is the compressor, and if I click here, we can see that it's PC track compressor. And it's these parameters that are listed this way. Then the following Pro Channel modules are EQ Tube Console, which you can see here, EQ Tube Console. And then this ROM here is actually an effects plugin, which I added here. So here is the effects plugin. Now let's say we want to automate this mix knob here. So what we're going to do is click on this drop down here and then hover over the effect that contains the parameter that we want to automate. In this case, it's ROM. And since we clicked and moved around this mix knob, it got listed in here. If the parameter that you're trying to automate is not in this list, then click on choose parameter, which is going to list all the parameters of that particular effects plugin that can be automated. And then we can just simply type in the letters in the name of that parameter, and from there we can just select that parameter. So now, instead of clicking one node at a time, I'm going to hold down Alt key so that we can do a freehand drawing. Now see what happens to this mix knob when I hit the playback button. It got automated. Now another way to add automation is by using this edit filter. As its name suggests, it filters out what we can edit in a single track. So if we click on this drop down and then go to automation, we can choose whichever parameter that we want to edit. We already have the volume automation, so if we select that, the volume automation that we did will show up in the track and we'll be able to edit that. Now keep in mind, at the moment we cannot edit anything else in this track because the editing capability is filtered to this volume automation only. Now let's add one more parameter. For the sake of simplicity, let's automate this pan control. So I'm going to click on this drop down again and then go to automation, then click on pan. So it's added now. So now if I add some nodes, you can see the pan control getting automated. Cool. Now let's switch this back to clips. Now if I click on this automation again, the pan control should actually be here, but for some reason it's still part of this track. So I'm going to just click on this plus, which is going to bring down the pan control automation lane. So now let me use this knob to show you another much easier way of adding automation, and that is to simply right click on the knob. And here we can see automation read, write, and snapshot. I'm just going to click on that, and that is going to create an automation lane with a node corresponding to the value that was set here. And then we can simply automate it the way we want it. Now there is one more way by which we can create an automation lane, and that is by making use of automation write feature, which we can enable for a track by hitting on this W here. Now this is very much similar to recording audio or MIDI. The difference here is that what is going to be captured is the movement of the parameters. Let's take this one for example. As you can see, that movement was captured here, and now we can just simply edit that automation lane. Once we have these automation lanes here, we don't need to go to the original fader or knob or any plugin to automate that parameter. We can do it directly from these pads here. Notice what happens to this send knob when I click and move around here inside this pad. So if I hit play with the write enabled, we can record it directly. Now we might need some more space. We can get it by clicking and making the automation lanes go bigger like that. Oh, by the way, remember to turn automation write off after you recorded whatever you wanted to record. And if you only wanted to automate only one single parameter, then you may right click that parameter and then enable this option here. I'm gonna disable that now. Now let's take a look into the different automation writing modes. To see that, we have to click on this track properties. And here in automation, we can see write mode. By default, it's touch. Let me show you what it does. So I'm going to enable this automation write. As its name suggests, touch will only capture the changes when I touch the parameter. As soon as I leave the parameter, it will go back to whatever value is on this track. Let me zoom in a little bit. Now see what happens. See, this is the automation data that we wrote now, and the moment I released this fader from my mouse, it went back up to the previous automation. Now let's switch it to overwrite. Now this will simply erase the previous automation data even if I don't touch the fader. This much data was written without me changing this fader values. Now the last one is latch. Now with this, the automation lane will stay at the exact value where I am going to leave it. See, I moved it around here, but left it and the automation value stayed there. That's it for the automation write modes. Just like automation write, we have automation read, which if we disable, none of these automation data will be read and the parameters will stay at their initial position. We can toggle the automation read at track level or individual automation lane level. We can also do this at the global level by using the mix module. Right now, since we are in the basic workspace mode, the mix module was not included in the control bar. So we are going to right click here and then go to modules and then enable mix. So here we have the mix module and here you can see R. So if I click there, the automation read in the entire project will be disabled. Likewise, if you have accidentally enabled some automation writes in some tracks and you might have forgotten that, you can use the mix module to make sure none of the automation write is enabled. Having automation write unknowingly enabled can lead to some problems. The automation right can also be used as a shortcut to finding a parameter in a plugin. Take this vital for example. With the automation right feature, we can add the automation lane for any parameter in the plugin from the plugin window itself. For that, we have to first enable the automation right and then move the parameter after hitting playback. As you can see, the automation lane for this filter cutoff is automatically created. I'm gonna do a little bit of editing there, and we are back on the rain ambience track. Now let's focus on the editing capabilities. We already saw that a click on the line will add a node, and if we hold down Alt key, we can do a freehand drawing. Now we can move around a node by grabbing it, and in order to move around multiple nodes, we have to select them first. We can do that when we have the mouse turned into this. We left click and simply drag. Now these nodes are selected and we can click and move them around. We can also right click and drag to select multiple nodes. If we have the snap to grid enabled, then these nodes will be magnetically pulled onto these vertical grid lines. Now if we hold down Ctrl key, the same snapping will happen horizontally. That is, it snaps to the previous horizontal automation segments. Now if we hold down Shift key, the movement of the node will be locked either horizontally or vertically depending on the first movement. And when we move the mouse to the upper side of an automation lane, it will turn into this. When that happens, we can click and then move all the nodes in that track up or down. But if we do a single click, if we don't hold it down, then these two nodes will be selected and we can move those two up and down. And also we can select an automation segment like this and then do this as well. Now if we hover over a line while holding down Ctrl key, the mouse turns into this, and this is what we can do with it. And also to reset a node to its default value, we can double click on the node. Now let's discuss about the automation segments between the nodes. So if we right click on the line or the automation segment, we can choose between 4 different types of curves. The first one is jump, which is denoted by these dotted lines. Now it shows that there is no automation data here. And this is mainly used when we are automating something like a switch, like this mute or a bypass parameter in plugins. Then we have linear, which is the straight line. Then we have fast curve. Then we have slow curve. Then if we right click again, we can see the option to add nodes at selection. Notice that there is no node at this point, right? But when I click on this option, there's a new node here. Now the next option is to assign envelope. Right now, this envelope is of volume automation. With this option, we can change it to any other parameter. Notice how it changes to LF enable. See, PC track EQ LF enable. Or we can actually right click and hover over copy and assign envelope so that we don't lose this volume automation but still copy it onto a new parameter. Let's go with style. And here is a new automation copied from the volume automation. Talking about copying, we can select an automation segment like this, then hit Ctrl+C on the keyboard to copy it. Then we place the playhead from where we want to paste it and also select the target automation lane. Then we can press Ctrl+V to paste it. There we have it. This thing is actually copy pasted from this automation. Now we were able to do this fairly easily because all the automation lanes involved are part of this single track. But let's say we want to copy the automation of a track to another track. For example, let's see how we can copy this volume automation to the Vox track. Here, instead of simply using the shortcut, we have to go to Edit and then select Copy Special. Here we can see there is track or bus automation as one of the options that can be copied. So we are going to press OK. Then we place the playhead from where we want to paste it and then go to Edit again. This time click Paste Special. Now here we can see that we can choose the destination. Right now it's saying starting track, which is this 19. Our target is this Vox track, which is 17. So let's change that. Now if you are targeting a bus track, then we select the bus track here, then choose the name of the bus. Then we don't need to link original clips because it's not a clip. And then we can simply press OK. So here in the Vox track, this automation was copied. Now do note that this will only work if the automation being copied has a valid destination. For example, this ROM 1 mix automation is part of the ROM effects plugin which I have only added into this Rain track, and it is not in this Vox track. So if we try to copy this into the Vox track, it does not have a valid destination. Cool. Now let's come back to where we left off. The next option in the right-click menu is delete envelope, which of course deletes the envelope. And then next option is clear all, which will remove all the nodes in that automation lane. Now this does not delete the envelope, that is, the parameter will be controlled by this automation lane. Now this one is this reverb sent ban. So even if I change it, it is going to change back to the value dictated by this automation lane. See, it went back up. So if you do want to completely remove the automation lane, we have to delete that envelope. You might misunderstand this minus button which says remove automation lane to be completely removing the automation lane, but it's not. It just hides the automation lane. If I click here, you can see that it went up there. See, it's still on the track. We can reveal them again by clicking on this plus. See? Speaking about deleting, we can delete a node by right-clicking on it and then clicking delete node. Or we can just click on the node and then hit delete on the keyboard. Select multiple nodes and we'll be able to delete all of them as well. Now till this time we were using the smart tool. If we right-click on this draw tool, we can see that there is line. But even without selecting that, we can access it by the shortcut Alt-Shift. And with that we can draw straight lines like this. So we accessed the line tool with the smart tool by making use of the shortcut. I'm not sure if there are shortcuts to access the following tools. I'm just going to show it. This is sine, by which we can draw sine waves. To do that, we place our mouse at where we need the 0 of the sine wave should be and click and drag. The amplitude of the sine wave will be determined by how far the mouse moves vertically. There are other waves like triangle. Now the frequency is determined by this number. So let's change it to a higher frequency, that is 1/16, and we can also make it a dotted tempo and see what happens now. Let's try an even higher frequency. See? Let's switch back to the smart tool. Now let me zoom out. So this automation is associated with this clip, and if I click and move this around, all those automation will also get moved. Now if you don't want that to happen, we can use a module in the control bar. Let me first bring that up. I'm going to right click and then go to modules and then click on select. So here we have this select module. Now if we disable this option, the automation will not be selected when we are selecting a clip, and we can move the clip without affecting the automation lanes. If we have that enabled, then moving this will also move the automation along with it. So that's how you automate a typical track that we can see here at the moment. Now notice here that the last track here is the 19th track named Rain. If I open up the console view, we can see the same track here at the most right hand side. But if I click on the splitter here and drag it to the left, we can see the bus tracks, which we already discussed in the video on console view that you can see by clicking on this link here. Anyway, let's say we want to automate this TDR Nova plugin in the drums bus, but at the moment we cannot see the drums bus here. We can bring up the bus pane by clicking on this arrow here or clicking and dragging this splitter up. So now here we have all the buses and we can automate any of them. I'm gonna solo the drums. I'm gonna bring up the TDR Nova plugin, enable automation right, then move the low pass filter. And here is the automation lane for the low pass filter frequency. And all I have to do is edit it the way I want it. So everything that we discussed about the automation in a normal track applies to the bus tracks as well. Now there is one more automation that we haven't discussed yet, and that is clip automation. For that, let's use this Vox track as example. I think it would be better to turn off all the effects in the track. Yeah, that's actually me. So remember the edit filter in the track? We click on that and then hover over clip automation and we can automate inside the clip. First one here is gain. So if I click there, we get the gain automation inside the clip. And it works exactly like the automation that we have already seen in the track. It's just that it will be only affecting a single clip. Let's change to pan. Now if you want to delete multiple nodes, then selecting it like this will not do the trick, because if you hit delete, the clip also gets deleted. So in order to delete multiple nodes, we select the nodes by right-clicking and dragging, and then we can simply hit delete. Let's delete the gain automation nodes as well. Now did you know that we can add audio effects plugins onto single audio clips? Let's take this Crush plugin as an example. I'm going to drop it onto the clip and it's on this single clip now. It's not on the track, it's just on this single clip. And then I want to automate this Crush and this drive parameters. Now I'm going to close this and click on the edit filter and then hover our clip automation, hover our Crush which we added, and here we have the drive and Crush parameters. So I'm going to click on Crush and here is a Crush automation lane. So I'm going to click and then do some random automation. I'm going to click again on the edit filter and this time I'm going to select drive and then again do some random stuff with its automation. Now to bring up the plugin again, we have to click on this effects, but if we have to be able to do that, we have to change this edit filter back to clips. And we can click on this effects, which is going to reveal all the effects plugins in here. I'm going to bring up Crush by double clicking on it. Here it is. Now see how these are going to move based on the clip automation that we added. Well, that's it. I'm going to remove this plugin from here. Delete. Done. Apparently, we still can see the automation that we added, but they are in fact not attached to any parameter. I'm guessing it will be removed once we restart this project. Oh, and by the way, we can edit the clip gain without switching the edit filter by hovering over the clip and holding down Control. Now keep in mind, we cannot automate it. We can just control the gain of the clip as a whole. And finally, we can even automate the tempo of the project. But first, let's bring up the tempo inspector by clicking here. Now let's bring up the tempo track. To do that, we hover over here and then click and drag it down. Right now we are seeing the video track, which we can ignore and hover above it and drag to reveal the tempo track. Above that there is arranger track, so we might even bring that down accidentally. So I'm going to hide the other two tracks. The tempo track is an automation lane, so we can pretty much handle it like any other automation lane. One difference is that we can see the tempo listed here. Now do note that it does not stretch these long audio clips. It only changes the starting point of the audio clips. But we don't have to worry anything about the MIDI. It will be changed no matter what. To show that, I'm going to unfreeze these tracks. So we automated the tempo. Now see these envelope values? We can see those values also in the other automation envelopes or even in the clip automation. To do that, we go to View in the Clips pane, then Display, then Show Values on Envelopes. There you go. And that's it for this video. Leave a like if you found it useful, and in the next one we will see how we can convert MIDI into audio inside Cakewalk. And with that, this is ADK and I'll catch you in the next video.